From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. I am Ben Hall. Good show tonight. We are talking about metro schools, and we are happy to have with us Dr. Jesse Register, who is about to retire. And
Yes.
Dr. Register, tonight I want to reflect on your time, your tenure as director of schools, your successes, what do you think you could have done better, all that stuff. And then in the second half, we're going to have another guest come on, Shannon Hunt from the Nashville Public Education Foundation. Happy to talk with her about that as well. But as far as news, here recently, since you were last on, the legislature did away with Common Core in the state. You have talked about that on the show, how important it is. Where does that leave metro schools?
I think it leaves us in very good shape. I'm very pleased with where the state is now. I was disappointed last year when we were stalled by legislative action. We were ready to implement testing, but I think the governor and now Commissioner Candace McQueen have structured an approach that's going to be very positive for us. A lot of input from parents and communities on a statewide basis, giving the legislature an opportunity to understand where we are and still developing and implementing new standards. So it's really taking a look at, and I think the new standards will be, are very much like Common Core, but they're tailor-made. You know, I have great confidence in Candace McQueen. I think she's going to be a great commissioner, and I think she is a listener, and she's taken a lot of time already to go around the state and to talk to groups of superintendents and groups of teachers and in community groups to really listen to what people have to say. That's very important. And so I think we'll come out fine. We're finishing the new standards now. We're ready to go with those, and I think they are very aligned with Common Core. I think there will be some changes, but then also we're looking at a new testing program that will be aligned. My concern in the past has been that the testing and what we were asked to teach in the standards were not properly aligned, but I think next year we'll find that to be the case. And I think they've also, and I'm going to say the governor and Commissioner McQueen both have looked at a way to phase this in so that it's not destructive, so that teachers are not as anxious about it as they were 2 years ago. And so I think we're in a good place now and ready to move forward.
When I heard you say in past appearances, we're teaching Common Core now, if the state doesn't approve it, that's going to be not good for us. You're saying now, okay, so they didn't approve it, but they're going to have their own new standards, and you feel like they'll be aligned with what we've been teaching.
What Common Core is, I think they'll be close, but I think there's some improvements. I think the slowdown's going to give us an opportunity. There's going to be a regular look, a regular examination of the standards that Tennessee adopts to make sure that they're updated on a more regular basis. Let's not wait 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then go through what we've been through with the changes over the last couple of changes in standards. Let's look at them on an annual basis and review them and adjust where we need to, but not make radical change. And let's choose a test. Let's develop a test that's aligned to those standards that we're teaching. And again, I don't think there's a radical change for us. It's just really important that teachers and parents understand that they have real answers, that there's not an uncertainty with it as we go forward.
The other big news is, of course, school's out next week. It's the end of the year.
Right.
So how would you assess the year? What are some of the challenges you're facing right now? You know, as this year ends, what's on your mind?
Well, we've had a good school year. The greatest challenge we had this year was the winter weather. Goodness gracious, I think that was probably more days out of school than I've had the entire time I've been here, and that always makes us anxious. If you think about it in these terms, we missed 9 days times 86,000 students. That's 86,000 times 9. That's a lot of instructional time loss. And I was talking to some folks at one of our alternative academies this morning who said that some of the students who were very close to graduation and going a second chance route in our school system had just disappeared after the bad weather and the spring break and everything. And these are young people that might be 18, 19 years old and wanting to finish that diploma, and the time interrupted, they just went away. Hopefully we'll get them back this summer and get them through this summer, but that was a concern this year. But other than that, it's been a good school year.
And so when you talk about that, the weather,
right,
there's always at the time, it's like, is there something we can do where certain parts of the district go to school when, you know, other parts don't? And is there some way to fix a situation like what we had this summer or this winter, which was unusual, but is there some way to fix it? Do you think it's realistic to have portions of the district go to school, or to fix this in some way?
It's extremely difficult to do that, and I understand concerns of parents who live right in town like I do, and the streets are clear there, but our transportation system is so intertwined, and getting kids to and from school, and then we have 25% of our students don't go to zone schools. They go to schools of choice. So what about the students in Whites Creek that go to Hume-Fogg? What about those students that travel out of their area? Maybe that's an area where there is more snow or ice on the roads, and they go to a magnet school in another part of the county. So it's really difficult to do that. Fred Carr, who's our Chief Operating Officer and in charge of transportation, is going to look at that for another year. But I think it'll be very difficult to do anything much different from what we do. I want to tell you the best thing about the weather this year: not one child was hurt.
And that's what's important.
And it really is. And so, and so we need to look at our calendar and make sure that we can build in make-up time. And parents, when you look at the calendar next year, it's spring break. There's a week for spring break, and there are 3 days for intercession. And remember, those intercession days are subject to being used for make-up. We don't get into spring break much, but when you're planning your vacations, you ought to plan them for spring break and not for intercession time, because we might use that to make up.
A lot of parents, I mean, my child's in elementary school, and a lot of kids were out, right, because they had planned those vacations. So it's just a mess all around.
Oh yeah, it really is.
When you take those days back, people don't cancel their plans, and it's a.
And so this, I've been here 6 years, 6.5 years. Actually, I guess I came in January. I guess this will be 7. This was 7 winters, and this is unique. And so, let us hope that it doesn't happen again for another 7 years.
How optimistic are you? Before I move on, how optimistic are you that the council will approve, you know, the budget, and that you all will be getting, as far as the budget? What are your thoughts for next year?
We are very pleased with the mayor's recommendation. We actually had a Budget and Finance Committee meeting of the board this afternoon, and they approved a modification that will allow us to balance our budget. And it's good news. We have a very big contract for custodial services that we've bid out. It's up for rebid, and it's been renegotiated, and it's actually coming in under what the cost was last time, and improved services too. But that will allow us to balance the budget, the operating budget. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with Metro Council when we meet with them. And so we feel very good about the budget. I tried to take a conservative approach to it this year. We are starting new programs. We're building on, not starting new programs, we're building on programs that are already started, but a relatively conservative approach. But the mayor's recommended a budget that essentially funds what we requested. And then in addition to that, a capital budget that we're very pleased with. It's the most we've gotten since I've been here, $131 million. And one of my concerns in the capital budget's been that we've had a backlog of big projects, big renovation projects, and those are high schools. And we've got 4 high schools that are on the list, and with the mayor's recommendation, we're completely remodeling and putting additions at 2 of those 4. That's a big step forward. That's Overton and Martin Luther King that will be funded. So I feel good about the budget. I'm not surprised. The mayor has been very supportive financially, even in the hard times, even in the economic downturn. He's really tried to prioritize education, and we have fared very well with local budget.
All right, I'm going to take a break. Then I want to come back and talk about you're retiring. You're retiring June 30th.
Yes.
And so, what are your successes, failures? What recommendations would you have for the next superintendent of schools? We'll talk about all that. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.
Okay.